Are you ready for the top 12?
I was sort of getting over the responsibility of having to manage a team.
The deeper you go, the more you can own your niche.
So I would say number one rule, go with your gut.
Top 3 people you follow and why you follow them.
When you said followers, I assumed you meant Twitter, and I'm not part of the Twitterati. I have somehow avoided. I know that's
neither am
I. So yeah, no top people that I follow, but certainly people like Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey, and like I'm always that those are people who really inspire me, and particularly as an American woman. So I'm kind of always, if they're doing anything, I'm probably following it.
The first fellow is a fellow called John Green. I used to work for John. I worked for John for 5 years. 5 years when I was living overseas. He was a Canadian fellow who grew up in the poorest streets of Canada, and he had a terrible temper. At least at that stage. But he was the sort of person that every day would try and would have a mantra. And even at his funeral in 1998, somebody stood up and said, the best you can do for this fellow is make yourself a little bit better every day. Because that was John's goal in terms of if you can learn a bit more about yourself and improve yourself. And he did a lot of self-study courses to find out why do I get so angry? Why do I lose my temper? And he went back that he realised when he was very little, he developed a fight mechanism. Run or get beaten up, and he got sick of running, so he started losing his temper so he could fight better. He trained himself to lose his temper.
Yeah, wow.
At age 10 or something like that. At age 65, he trained himself to not lose his temper by going back and working out and undoing what he had trained himself. Neuro-linguistic programming, he was a practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming, John Bandler, where he could speak to somebody and he could ask them a question. He would just from their body language and their eyes, work out whether they were making the answer up, whether they knew it, whether they would just had it stored somewhere or weren't sure, or were just saying something to please you.
Yeah.
But just, nobody could put anything over him. He was a very clever man. And one of the little newsletters is called Earned It 3 times, lost it twice. And so he did make 3 fortunes, and he did lose it twice. He was very wealthy at the end. And hearing the stories about those, some of those go back to those mantras of trust your gut and change the things you can and leave the things you can't.
Yeah. Wow.
Another fellow I follow is Ricky Gervais, the comedian from The Office. Why do I like him? Because he just makes people look at themselves and stop taking themselves too seriously. I love the way he busts political correctness away and just look down to the nitty-gritty, folks. This is what life's all about. Let's not be politically correct, because it really doesn't do anybody any good.
So do you follow him on Twitter or just all over the place wherever he pops up?
Podcast, Facebook.
He's got a podcast as well.
Yes, yeah. And he's a very funny fellow. I mean, other comedians have come through and followed him, and he introduces us some other pretty good comedians as well. I think following comedians is very important because they actually do break through a lot of the sort of the falseness that's around. You actually see what's real about what we do. Yeah, it's very important. Yeah. And the other people I follow is actually 3. It's my 3 kids in terms of where they are now. They all had goals. They're doing what they want to do now. They didn't get their first go, but tried again, and now they're all 3 are where they want to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, wow. So just keep trying.
Just keep trying. Yeah. And so that's actually 5 people I follow. Okay. So yes, they're the people I follow, and it's just it's encouraging. It's good.
At this stage of my career, it's definitely Ray Dalio. Because I'm in that investing cycle, and you're going to go through stages. But here's the thing: like, everyone should be studying art. They should be studying music, like Beethoven. They should study like Tesla and understand the differences between Edison and Tesla, and going to the Tesla Museum and things like that. your goal should be to research everything and critically analyze everything that you hear, rather than taking information in and saying, okay, that's the truth. You should really knock on it and say, is this reality? Rather than doing what everybody else does. Everybody else, I shouldn't say that in absolute terms. The majority do.
Majority of people.
Look, I'm not very big on following individuals because I like everyone's story. But I'm a bit of a glutton for news, especially for science news, and so physics, science, medical news. If I followed anybody, I would probably follow futurists, I think.
Okay.
Because I like to know where everything is heading.
It's heading.
So, but you can find out a lot of that on the news, and even though a lot of it, if you go to like Science Daily or phys.org, you'll see news about the latest research into different things. And 99% of it you won't understand when they start talking nanoparticles and this, that. But you'll find so much interesting stuff on there about what they're trying to do and what it means, what it might mean for the future.
For you, yeah. And I mean, being in business, it's another thing to always to know. I'm sure it helps you to just know what's coming up as well, because if you can see that, I don't know, the nanoparticles industry is up and coming, it might help for you to start looking at, content writers who have that background and favoring maybe those people. So you're setting up your business to be able to write the kind of articles that people are going to want in the future versus not being that sort of aware of what's coming ahead and just getting blindsided.
Absolutely. And I think even things like one topic area that I love is longevity. So people like Aubrey de Grey, I like to read their perspective, and they're all very intelligent people, and just forcing you to sort of think, well, what happens if I do live to 130? What happens if they discover something in the next couple of years and we're all going to live to 130? What on earth is going to happen? So many things are going to happen.
Yeah. Or even, is this the kind of life I want to live for another 60, 70, 80 years? And what would I
throw so many things out the window, good things and bad things. There'll be people who, they just haven't planned that far ahead financially to start with. Are we going to be working longer? Are we going to be artificial intelligence? Are we going to be working at all?
Yes.
Or are we going to be all out living in the bush trying to grow our own potatoes? It's just very interesting.
Probably personally in my own life, again, Dad, he's just always been pretty hard worker. I've ever had any questions to do with business and how I deal with a customer or a client. He's just been firsthand there to help me. So he's always probably first call, point of action if I ever need, any questions answered. But again, moving away from that, I love the way that Joe Rogan lives his life, and he's managed to find a good balance between business and pleasure. He's got a lot of interest in line with myself in nature and martial arts and interest in all that sort of stuff. And I just love how he's become so mega successful, but managed to keep, it's not all about money. He's, obviously making a lot of money, but he's still super happy with what he's doing and who he is as a person. So it's something that I want to be able to look back when I'm 40, 50 years old and be like, look, I haven't become this guy who's completely obsessed with money. We all love money, it runs the world, but, I still want to have my interests and be able to do what he's done.
Money.
Yeah, exactly right. So, he's definitely someone that, I don't know, not necessarily look up to, but definitely hold up there as where I want to be at the end, when I'm
as
ready
a point
to
of
retire.
reference and someone to sort
exactly right.
look at.
Yeah. Because we're, above Scott, we can't be exactly alike. He's not my idol or anything like that, but it's just cool to see someone that lives their life and is happy doing what they're doing. They're not sort of stuck down in some dead-end job because the money's kept them there. He's just happy doing what he's doing. So that's probably another one. And then a third one would have to be Andrew Uckel. So he's this dude. He's a bit of a nature dude in Australia. He's he's a Steve Irwin, like a young Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
So he's based out up in the Queensland at the moment. He does lots of nature stuff, and I've always been involved with nature and like an interest in the wildlife. So I think those three people, like having someone business minded, but also, you know, someone who's surrounded by nature constantly. It's good to have that balance, because I could name off three business people, but you know, my interests aren't all in business. So I think, you know, to keep myself well rounded, I've always had interests in this guy, Andrew Eucles. Again, he just does some amazing stuff for wildlife around the country and educating people on the dangerous animals we have here. So yeah, he's someone that comes to mind when I think of three people that have been impactful, because I do get stuck down with work a lot, but it's good to have that escape from work and just totally switch off and relax and, you know, look into another part or interest in my life. I think it's a good thing, because you can get totally obsessed with work, and it works for a lot of people, but I think to keep myself well-rounded, I've got to be able to switch off and then
unwind and sort of have something more than just work and business and money.
That's right, because I feel almost that the next day when I do go to work, it's 100% work. I'm not my mind's not scattering anywhere else, because I've had time to do that. So now it's just work time.
Yeah.
So having someone like Andrew Eucles, it's been awesome.
I like a coach named Lacey Seitz. I like her stuff. She does something called Happy Magic, which I follow, which is about infusing that happiness into your life and bringing about what you want from your life. Because what we didn't cover in this podcast is I started out in a very abusive home. So I've created a dream life for myself, and that takes energy. It takes me consciously choosing that over and over again. So I love following Happy Magic. I like I do like following Gary Vee. He's great. And he's always like, keep posting on LinkedIn over and over again. Like the algorithms, don't just post every day, post 500 times a day. And you know what? Sometimes I want to hear that. I'm not into TikTok like he keeps saying.
Yes.
I do listen to him. And then somebody else I follow, like who else do I follow religiously? I follow my own inner voice. I trust myself. That's key. That's really key. I say, if I'm not feeling trusty, I said, if I trust myself, what would I do in my business today, or in my marriage, or in this friendship, or in this decision? So I follow myself.